Hey YouTube, are you interested in pulling Instagram data directly into Google Sheets? Look no further. Today I'm going to introduce you to a tool that's able to connect to Instagram and pull any public data directly into Google Sheets for you to build a dashboard with, or just analyze the data for your own curiosity's sake, or if you're into digital marketing, if you do digital marketing. If you work in digital marketing, this should be specifically helpful for you. So to start, you'll want to head over to mixedanalytics.com and snag a copy of API connector for Google Sheets. So I already have it installed. You can go ahead and get that set up yourself. Now, once you have it installed, what you'll want to do is access API connector through the add-ons here in the top corner, and then API connector. So before we get started, first we need to think about how do we access this data from Instagram. So we're going to have to go through an unofficial route to get that data through API connector and into Google Sheets. So to start, let's head over to one of my favorite websites for web development called RapidAPI. So if you open here on the main link, once you have your account activated with RapidAPI, let's just go up here in the search bar and search for Instagram. Okay. And there's a lot of unofficial Instagram APIs that are able to pull data in for you. For the sake of this tutorial, we'll use the first one. And if you're a little bit confused about which one it is and you're having trouble following, just verify by looking here in the request and making sure this is Instagram 40. So now, let's say, for example, I have an Instagram account that I'm monitoring for, something like likes and comments and maybe some other information. The first thing I want to do is make sure I have my username, obviously, right? For example, I want to get data from this Instagram account, Inca Co, which is a really awesome tool for learning Chinese and Korean, by the way, if that's something that you're interested in delving into. So let's say I want to get the number of likes and comments on each of these posts and have it print out into a nice dashboard. Let's walk through the process right now. So to get started using this API, you'll want to head over to pricing and make sure that you register for the basic account. It gives you 100 requests per month as a hard limit, which means you can't call this API more than 100 times. If you have a need to call more frequently, you'll want to upgrade and sign up with your credit card. So with that in mind, once you've registered, we can go back to endpoints and let's start connecting our Instagram data over to Google Sheets. Inside of Google Sheets, when you go to add-ons, you can access API connector here by pressing open. Okay. Now, the first thing we'll want to do is create a new request. So back over in RapidAPI, we'll want to look over here on the side and probably get, let's start by getting account feed, because this is going to get the recent 12 posts from account by username. So what you'll want to do is over here on the side, you'll want to copy this URL here. So Instagram 40.p RapidAPI blah, blah, blah account feed. Once you've copied that, we can paste that over here in the URL path. Now, in order to use this API, we're going to have to provide authentication, which should have been created for you automatically when you registered for this API. So below, you'll see an area that says request headers. And so what we'll want to do is copy that key. We'll head back over here and then paste that into headers inside of API connector. And then we'll also grab this value as well. And then we'll paste that here. And then what we'll want to do is also copy that host as the header, paste here. And then we'll want to copy that host domain as well and paste it as a value within inside of our headers. So just to reiterate, make sure that you have the RapidAPI key and RapidAPI host headers inside of your API configuration. And the only other thing that we will need to provide is our username under required parameters. And in order to add a parameter to our API URL, you'll want to go back over to API connector. And this is true for any kind of parameter. You'll put a question mark with the name of that parameter, which in this case is username, followed by an equal sign, and then the name of that account from Instagram, right? So I want to find information about Inca Co. And that should be it. The only other thing you'll want to do is make sure you set your destination sheet. I called this account feed IG40 just for clarification's sake. And then I'll probably give this the same name just for clarity's sake so that I know where my data is going. And then when I save and run, it's going to pull this raw data directly into Google Sheets in a couple seconds. So as we saw in RapidAPI, this is the endpoint to get the 12 most recent posts from account by username. Now, you'll see here that it looks like we have 12 rows, well, 13 plus the headers, right? And this is great, but it looks kind of messy, right? So how do we kind of jumble this and move it into a shape that's a little bit more friendly for us to view? I did a little bit of homework already for us when searching this out. But what you'll want to do anytime you're looking at a new API is kind of go through these headers and see what information is available. Specifically, I'm interested in getting that display URL. I would also like to get information about any tagged users that are in this post. And I would also be really interested in getting, let's see, what other cool stuff can we find here? Username should be constant for all of these posts. So accessibility captions, kind of like an AI generated caption that does like image recognition, object detection. That's kind of cool. Maybe we'll grab that one. We'll also want to get this text for the caption. We'll want to get the number of comments that were left on a particular post. And then we'll also want to get the number of likes. I think that's a good start. So with this in mind, I recommend anytime that you are using API connector and you're wanting to create any kind of dashboard, it's always a good idea to pipe this raw data from your main sheet over to another one. So let's go ahead and start by creating a new sheet, and we'll just call this something like IG dashboard, for example. Okay. And another thing to be wary of, and this goes with many APIs, is that the order in which the data is returned is not necessarily constant. So for example, this column that is currently returning the media caption might shift over to AA at some point. So if you're referencing that column specifically, it may break the next time you refresh it. So there's a way to work around this, and what you can do is basically start by getting the name of the column that you want, which is in this case node display URL. Get that header and go ahead and paste it over into your dashboard sheet, or the sheet that you're going to be piping that data to. The next thing you'll want to do is use this formula here. So I was looking over at my other screen. Okay, so a quick explanation of how this formula works. Essentially what I'm doing is I am querying the raw data sheet that I pulled that data from in based on the name of the header. And so what that does is it looks for the column that has that specific headers matching, and then it will return all the data for that area specifically. So if your data ends up shifting around columns when you use API connector, it won't be an issue. It'll be able to automatically find it and then return the data in a constant order. Okay. And so another thing I might do is, because this is not the prettiest looking header, I might just give this a name like raw image, for example. And then if you actually want to return the image, here's a cool trick inside of Google Sheets. What you can do is use the formula image and then just reference the column that it's next to. And then what it will do is actually return the image and display it inside of Google Sheets. So that's pretty cool, right? You can see the images returning here. Okay, so next step, we mentioned we want to get a couple more things. So we were talking about getting that display URL. Let's go for it and get our tagged username, or whatever is kind of next on our list here. So let's go ahead and copy that. That's going to be anybody that's tagged in our post. So we'll post that header here. And then we also want to get the AI generated caption. We'll post that here. And then we'll also want to get the caption text. And then maybe we'll put comments here on the end, and then we'll get the number of likes, and then we'll paste it here like this. Okay, so now that we have that information in, what we'll want to do is basically just copy over this formula and then paste it here, and then we'll match. This time we want to get it on the D column, just whatever's above it. And now very simply we can drag using the blue square in the bottom right corner, and boom, we can snag all that data real quickly and conveniently. Now let's go back up here on the second row and give these some nice names so that it's a little bit easier for us humans to read. So now that I've done that, what I'll go ahead and do is hide all of these rows. And let's just kind of clean up things a little bit. We don't really need this image URL since we can already see that. We can kind of open up this column a little bit here. And then maybe with our text data here, it's a little easier to see now. Yeah, that's a very simple dashboard for getting started. Yeah, and then the only other thing I would do from here is maybe just kind of I'll hide the grid lines, and I might do something like, just to make it look a little bit prettier, I'll kind of box in some of this stuff. I'll just maybe do like this. And then here's a cool trick. If you hold Control Shift and then press the right key, it will grab every column to the right of that, and you can just get rid of those extra columns that you don't need. And then we can do the same thing on the bottom, Control Shift down, delete all these extra rows since we're only returning 12. And then maybe we'll just, make it your own, mess around with a little bit and see what you like. Yeah. So that's pretty much it. That should help you kind of get started messing around with publicly available Instagram data. So if you have any questions or comments, feel free to drop something below, or you can reach out to us on our Reddit account. We have a very active user community over there. And that's it. Thanks for watching.